Morning everyone, welcome to Compliance Over Coffee. And believe it or not, it's raining here today. That wasn't forecast, but there you go, it's raining. So, this morning on Compliance Over Coffee, what I want to cover for you is client due diligence and the important two-part process. And the reason that we're doing this today is that it links in very nicely with what's going to happen live tomorrow night in our group. So, firstly, what is CDD? As in the title, CDD is client due diligence. And it works equally for seller and buyer because our responsibilities are to carry out due diligence on both, regardless of who is paying the fees. Now, I'm not going to talk to you exactly what due diligence is about today. That's not what this morning is about, but it's about this two-step process. And we split our due diligence into two parts, which for me is key. And those two parts are manual and electronic. Now, the manual gathering is where you gather the data to give you the information that you need to prove various aspects of due diligence. So it could be home address, date of birth, name. It could be do they have the funds, the source of funds, national insurance number. It could be all sorts of different things. Depends on how you've assessed your client, whether they're low risk or high risk, and what types of information they have that they can provide to you. And so the manual, the first part of the due diligence, is asking the questions, having the forms and gathering that data manually and bringing it into you to a central point for it to be assessed, and then aspects of it to go into part two. And part two of the client due diligence is electronic due diligence, which is using an electronic system to take some of the information that you've gathered and go off and do checks in places that you can't. Now, the danger is that a few people believe that you can use an electronic system, it does everything for you, and you don't have to do any of the work of gathering at all. You just send the person to an electronic system, or you just gather some odds and sods, put it in the electronic system, and that is due diligence done. No, it's not. And HMRC don't suggest at all that you rely on electronic due diligence, but they do consider it to be an important part of what we do in the process. We have to do some work, guys. We can't be lazy. We have to do some work. We have to do the gathering. We have to do some assessing for ourselves before we put them to the electronic system. And one of the reasons why is you are expected to assess them as to whether they are low or high risk, and then use the appropriate checking mechanism in the electronic due diligence system. Now, you can't do that unless you've done the manual checks first, because the electronic system doesn't know if they're low or high risk. The other thing that you need to know about in the electronic checking systems is, do they meet HMRC minimum standards? And just because it says on the websites that they do, doesn't mean that necessarily they do. So you have to understand what HMRC are expecting and then check that the system fulfills what you want. Ask the questions. Because if you don't ask them, you haven't done due diligence on the electronic system, and if it fails or you're using it in the wrong way, your client due diligence might as well not be there because it's not fulfilling what it needs to fulfill. Now, some of these electronic systems have multiple layers of ways of charging, but not all of them will be suitable for meeting money laundering perspectives. So you have to understand what they do. So this morning we've covered client due diligence, the two very important parts to it, the first part being manual and the second part being electronic. Now, I said that something was happening tomorrow evening. It's in the announcements in the group, but I will put up a reminder again later on today. I am interviewing the guy who runs the electronic due diligence system that Tony and I have used for some years now for our sourcing business. And what he's going to do is he's going to talk you through the system from a sourcing perspective as to what you could do, what you might do, what the system can do, and just give you a general overview about it and some costings for you. Now, it's not free of charge and it isn't per check. There is a monthly charge for it. But I say on my courses, and I reiterate to you guys, that it is incredibly important that as part of your due diligence process, you use an electronic checking system of some sort. If it isn't Landmark, which is what we use, that's absolutely fine. But please, please, please use an electronic system linked in with your manual gathering, and ensure that the electronic system that you use is fit for purpose. So that's compliance over coffee this morning. As I say, tomorrow evening I will be doing the interview demonstration live in our group. It will be recorded if you can't watch it there and then, for you to be able to catch up. That's it for Tuesday. Let's hope it gets a bit brighter here in the northwest. And I will be back with you again on Thursday. Until then, have a great Tuesday and a great Wednesday. Bye for now.